We're an independent company, so we get commissions from Channel 4 and BBC. And yeah, we got this commission from Channel 4 to work with Slam. The Garden decided to, or wanted to start working with Slam after they had sort of built an initial kind of relationship from their work on 24 Hours and A&E. So when we were filming over at King's College, there were a number of patients that were referred over to the Maudsley when we'd been filming. And so we started to build a relationship, I think, with the Trust. And then our colleague, Amy Flanagan, who's an exec on the series, she thought that it would be, really interesting to try and make a bigger, sort of larger scale sort of a series about mental health, if it was possible. And so started to have those discussions. And obviously the Maudsley, world renowned, and then the Trust overall, we just thought it would be a fantastic place to try and get access to and just start those conversations, really. So we were filming at Lambeth Triage Ward, and I think we were both, the director and I were both really surprised at how comfortable both clients on the ward and staff felt with the presence of a camera. I mean, I don't think you ever really know what a camera's what effect it's going to have when you bring it into a situation. And because there were some patients that we were meeting who were acutely unwell, we just weren't sure whether bringing a camera into the situation was going to sort of exacerbate things at all. But people just didn't seem bothered. They were interested in what we were doing. And in fact, in some cases, people were really drawn to it and really wanted to make their opinion, heard. And so that was the initial sort of surprise that I think that we had, and how straightforward that was, getting to the point where we were just part of the ward, part of the running of the ward. I guess the other thing is just the extraordinary array of people that you meet, both staff and the patients there, who from all walks of life and with extraordinary stories. And it was a really memorable time, the filming, and some real surprises and some things that were really difficult to hear as well about people. But it was sort of really invigorating, I think, working in an environment like that. You're always aware of the statistics, and that it's 1 in 4 of us, and it's kind of relevant to us all, because if it's not ourselves, then it's a sibling or a partner or a friend. But I think actually quite how relevant it is to all of our lives is I've become increasingly aware of. So as soon as I've started to tell people that I've been working on this project, a lot of people have opened up and shared an experience either about themselves or about someone they know. I guess there's preconceptions that I had, or just sort of headlines that I had about mental health, and so I've understand more now about a term like schizophrenia, that how complex it is and how different experiences people have. And I think maybe we just bunch things together, terms or ideas about mental health or about other things as well. But I think beginning to unpick all that and understand how different it is for everybody. I hope that making a series like this will help to break down stereotypes. I think when the media works well, it's a kind of thought and ideas that can get out to millions of people, and it's a platform which that people watch and people respond to, and it creates debate. And I think even if things are quite difficult to watch, I think at least people start talking about them off the back of a series like this. So I hope that across the series, people from watching it, people feel that they learn something that they didn't already know about mental health, that they recognise something in themselves about somebody that they see in the programme or the series that they hadn't identified with before, something they empathise with. That's our hope.
We've chosen to look at 4 quite distinct areas that Slam and the Maudsley work in, to try and get a really a better understanding and a breadth of the work that the trust does. So one film's set in the anxiety disorders residential unit down at the Bethlehem. There's another film that's set on Lambeth Triage. Third film is about older adults, both in the community and on a ward. And the fourth film is about the work of a community mental health team. In the anxiety disorders residential unit, there's a few different kind of anxiety disorders that they treat. So there's like general social anxiety, but there's post-traumatic stress disorder, there's OCD, there's body dysmorphic disorder. But the bulk of cases that we saw was around OCD. And there's a really kind of broad range of OCD illnesses, or how it's manifested with patients down there, from contamination to perfectionism, and then there is a sort of side of OCD which I don't think many people know about. There is this sort of real misunderstanding about what OCD is, and the term sort of bandied around as people are a bit eccentric, a bit fussy, a bit perfectionist, and almost as some kind of amusement around it. Once we started filming in this residential unit, which treats the kind of top 1% of most extreme people in the country who've failed in treatment elsewhere, you realise kind of what a complicated and really debilitating mental illness it is. I think it was the intrusive thought part of anxiety disorders that really sort of was something new for us to find out about OCD, in that it's almost kind of quite delusional, and it can be so kind of debilitating for people, so they almost end up living as recluses, really. I think there's this general perception that OCD is really at the lower end of mental health. And I think, even some people sort of wear it as a slight badge of honour. They say, I'm a little bit OCD, and they think that's actually what I'm telling you is that I've got a really clean house, and I think it's really good. But I think when they see the film, they'll realise that it can be a really serious psychiatric illness that almost sort of makes people's lives just stop. Their relationships had ended, they dropped out of university, they'd stopped work. Some of the people had been living at home for like 2 years and never go outside anymore. But I think what our film will do is show the kind of impact and consequences of suffering from an illness like that. With regard to the patients down at the anxiety residential unit, it was quite hard to get to convince them to participate in the film, because they are quite anxious anyway, and they've got a lot of insight over their condition, and there's a lot of embarrassment around it. But we eventually got some really good people who I think you can really relate to, and they were very brave about it, and they started to tell us really things that they probably never told other people who they were close to before. So I kind of felt that we really got to understand what the consequences of living with an illness like that is. I think amongst the staff, they think there's a real misunderstanding of what the illness is. So I think that was what motivated many of them to become involved in the film.